When a racist restaurant owner publicly humiliates a young black couple, throwing them out in front of everyone, he thinks he's teaching them a lesson, but the next morning, his restaurant is swarmed by luxury cars, cameras, and police because the couple he insulted weren't just ordinary diners. They were someone powerful. The golden glow of the White Rose Bistro spilled across the polished sidewalks of downtown Atlanta. It was the kind of restaurant that catered to the city's elite businessmen in crisp suits, influencers posing for photos, and the wealthy who believed exclusivity was their birthright. The owner, Richard Harlow, took immense pride in it. To him, reputation was everything. That Friday evening, Richard stood by the host stand, scanning the crowd. He loved this part, watching who came through his doors. But when a young black couple entered, his smile vanished. The man, Darius Johnson, was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a sleek navy suit. His partner, Aaliyah Carter, wore a simple but elegant black dress, her natural curls glowing under the chandelier light. They walked in hand, their posture calm and confident. "Reservation for Johnson," Darius said politely. The hostess checked her tablet. "Yes, sir." "Table for two." She smiled warmly, but Richard quickly stepped in, his tone cutting through the hum of conversation. "I think there's been a mistake," he said sharply. "We have a strict dress code and—" Well, his eyes darted judgmentally over them. "That outfit doesn't really fit our atmosphere." Aaliyah frowned. "Excuse me? My dress is perfectly fine. We just came from an event." Richard folded his arms. "It's not about the dress, miss. This is a private establishment, and we reserve the right to deny service." "You understand, I'm sure." Whispers began to ripple across nearby tables. Some guests exchanged uncomfortable looks, others smirked knowingly. Darius clenched his jaw. "Sir," he said, keeping his voice even, "we made a reservation a week ago. We'd just like to eat in peace." Richard's voice rose, drawing more attention. "I said no service. You people always think you can come in here and—" "Richard!" the hostess gasped. Aaliyah's face fell, tears welling. "You people?" she echoed softly. Richard realized too late that his anger had slipped into something uglier, but instead of apologizing, his pride took over. "That's right, out before I call security." Darius took Aaliyah's hand and turned to leave. But before walking out, he faced Richard one last time. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." His words were calm, almost pitying. Laughter erupted from a few tables. Richard's pride swelled again. "We'll see about that," he muttered. Outside, as the couple walked into the cool night air, Aaliyah trembled. "Darius, why didn't we just tell him who you are?" He smiled faintly. "Because people like him don't learn from being told. They learn from what happens next." The next morning, Richard arrived early at his restaurant, still smug about the scene he'd handled. He brewed his coffee, flipped through the local business paper, and nodded to himself. "No one disrespects my place," he muttered. But before long, his phone started buzzing. Dozens of notifications, comments, tags, mentions. Confused, he clicked on one. Hashtag White Rose Racism was trending. Videos of last night's confrontation had gone viral. The hostess, shocked by what she'd witnessed, had recorded the entire exchange and posted it online. Millions had viewed it overnight. The caption read, "Racist restaurant owner kicks out black couple for no reason? Atlanta, we can do better." Richard's face drained of color. He scrolled through comments, thousands of angry messages, bad reviews, and calls for boycotts. Close this racist dump. Never eating there again. Who talks like that in 2025? He slammed his phone down, fuming. Idiots, they don't even know the full story. Moments later, his general manager rushed in. "So you need to see this." Outside, the parking lot was filling, not with customers, but with reporters and protesters. Cameras flashed, signs waved, and chants echoed. "Justice for Darius and Aaliyah!" Richard's blood ran cold. Who the hell are these people? He hissed. That's when a sleek convoy of black SUVs pulled up. Security guards stepped out, followed by a man in a dark tailored suit, Darius. Aaliyah walked beside him, poised and calm, flanked by several men in business attire. Richard stumbled backward. "What is this?" Darius stepped forward, his expression unreadable. Mr. Harlow, I came back because I believe in second chances. But you've made that very difficult. Richard forced a nervous laugh. Oh, come on. That video? It's taken out of context? You know how people twist things online. Aaliyah crossed her arms. You looked us in the eyes and said, "You people, there's no context that fixes that." Reporters crowded around, snapping photos. Mr. Johnson, how do you feel about the incident? Richard blinked. Johnson? Wait, Johnson as in? One of the men behind Darius stepped forward. Allow me to introduce Mr. Darius Johnson, CEO of Johnson Global Enterprises and newly appointed board member of the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. Richard's knees nearly gave out. You're that Darius Johnson? Darius nodded. The same one who was going to invest in local restaurants as part of our diversity in dining initiative. The crowd gasped. Reporters scribbled furiously. Aaliyah added softly, White Rose Bistro was at the top of our short list. We wanted to help bring more customers to you. Silence. Richard's mouth fell open. I didn't know. That's the problem, Darius said, voice cool and calm. You didn't want to know. All you saw was our skin. The cameras clicked like gunfire. The world was watching. Richard stammered, Please, I'll apologize, I'll make a statement. Darius shook his head. It's not about words anymore. It's about change. You're going to learn what equality really costs and what it can give back. He turned to leave, but not before handing Richard a card. My team will be in touch. You'll want to hear what we're planning next. The SUVs pulled away, leaving Richard standing alone in front of a crowd of reporters shouting questions. His restaurant sign gleamed behind him, a stark reminder that his empire was about to crumble. Days turned into weeks, and the fallout was brutal. Online reviews tanked. Sponsors pulled out. White Rose Bistro went from packed to empty overnight. Even his longtime staff began to quit, unable to bear the shame attached to the place. Richard sat alone in his office, surrounded by silence and unpaid bills. He looked at the photo of his late wife, Emily, who had always told him, You can't build success on hate, Richard. It always collapses. For the first time, her words hit him like a brick. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived. The sender, Johnson Global Enterprises. He hesitated before opening it. Inside was a short note. Mr. Harlow, people can change. If you're truly ready to make amends, meet me tomorrow at noon. Address below. DJ. Richard almost didn't go. Shame burned deep. But curiosity and desperation drove him there. The next day, he arrived at a large community center in downtown Atlanta. Outside, volunteers handed out food to the homeless, children played on new playground equipment, and banners read, Unity Through Action, sponsored by Johnson Global. Inside, he found Darius and Aaliyah speaking with local leaders. When they saw him, Darius smiled faintly. Mr. Harlow, he said, glad you came. Richard's voice cracked. I don't even know what to say. I ruined everything. I hurt you both. And myself. Aaliyah stepped forward gently. Admitting that is the first step. But the real question is, what will you do next? Darius gestured toward a group of young culinary students preparing meals in the kitchen. We're launching a mentorship program, training minority chefs to open their own restaurants. We were hoping you'd teach them about management, service, and operations. Richard blinked in disbelief. You'd trust me after what I did? Darius nodded. We don't want revenge, Mr. Harlow. We want growth. The same growth you never gave us a chance to show. Something shifted inside Richard that day. He agreed. Months later, he stood in the same kitchen, not as the arrogant owner of White Rose Bistro, but as a mentor. He listened, learned, and apologized publicly. He sold the bistro, donating half the proceeds to the Unity program. In time, people began to see a change. The man who once kicked others out now opened doors. And one evening, as he helped plate meals for a fundraiser, he looked up to see Darius and Aaliyah again, smiling arm in arm. Richard approached them quietly. Thank you for not giving up on me. Aaliyah smiled warmly. Everyone deserves a chance to become who they were meant to be, even you. Darius extended his hand. Welcome to the team, Richard. As the crowd applauded and cameras flashed, Richard realized this was the success he'd always wanted, not built on money or prestige, but on respect and redemption. The lesson was clear. Hate can destroy a business, but humility can rebuild a soul.